Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today on our Beach Boys series, we are taking a look at 1970s Sunflower. Our panel will be doing a review, discussing our favorite tracks, and discussing the Beach Boys in general. Sunflower is the 16th studio album by American band The Beach Boys, released in 1970. Their first single off the album, Add Some Music to Your Day, peaked at number 64 on the Billboard Hot 100. The second release, Slip On Through, backed with This Whole World, didn't even chart. Fans generally consider Sunflower to be the Beach Boys' finest post-Pet Sounds album. It has appeared on several critics and listeners' polls for the best albums of all time, including Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time from 2003. Before we dive in on our panel, let's see what is happening on the channel. Brett Peters, Ryan Gavalier, and John Clauser looked at the 3 off of the soundboard releases from Kiss. Which ones do we like? Check this episode out on YouTube. It was a blast. Marco from the Contrarians and Brett Peters also looked at Kiss bootlegs. Marco has quite the collection that left Brett and I in awe. Todd Evans and I will be looking at the acclaimed Georgia band Guadalcanal Diary. We will be having a general discussion and look at their 4 Elektra releases. Ryan Gavalier also returned for our ongoing Cheap Tricks series. We will be looking at 1980's All Shook Up and 1982's One on One. Todd Evans will be coming on this week to discuss our 2 favorite tracks off the first 4 Cure albums. If you're a Cure fan, this episode is a must. Please like, subscribe, ring that bell, you know the thing. Let's get to our panel and to the Beach Boys Sunflower.
Hi, this is Brian Wilson, eldest of the Wilson brothers. I have 2 other brothers, Dennis
and Carl.
And we have a wonderful cousin named Love.
Thank you, Brian.
And then 2 very dear friends, Al Jardine and Bruce Johnston, and we together form a group called the Beach Boys, and we're looking forward to seeing you at the show.
Can I come?
Yeah, we'll just tell you what. Go to any A&W hamburger stand.
Yes.
And
they'd look at me and laugh, though, wouldn't they?
That's what I'm trying to get them to do.
Well, I'd like to see
because I like to see foreigners maligned.
Well, I'm not prepared to be insulted by you, sir, but I will come to the show.
No, I'm not insulting you. I'm just telling you you're kind of messed up and you look kind of funny for this country.
I don't like your face at all.
Well, maybe that's because I have a beard.
Yes, that's because you're bald, isn't it?
Let's do it.
There you go. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and today, Davy, you don't have to be muted. We can hear you clap.
Well, that was anything that makes Mike look bad.
Right. I figured you would like that.
That was brilliant.
So anyway, welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today we are looking at the Beach Boys 1970 album, Sunflower. I want to welcome Rand Kelly. There you go. Rand's got some props.
Thank you.
Ryan Gavalier, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And David Gallagher. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Nice to see you. And I see you're sporting the sunflower colors. I appreciate that.
Yes. If you're on the show, you have the props.
That's right. So this is our ongoing series of Beach Boys that we are doing. Of course, it was never the goal to have a series, but now it's a series. So we will be hitting albums as we keep going, even though we're going kind of out of order. You know, whatever. Who cares? It'll all be down in the playlist. You can find it. So without any further ado, why don't we just start out? I'm just going to go, I guess, clockwise from the way I see it. So I'm going to start out with the Rand. And what we're doing is just doing a basic review, giving our rating, what tracks we like, what tracks we don't like, just an overall review of Sunflower and what you think of it. So Rand, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, thank you very much. I got to admit, I'm not real familiar with this album. I've had it for over 2 decades and I hardly ever listen to it, but I do like it. It's funny because when I was in the Air Force 50 years ago, the first Beach Boys album I ever bought was Surf's Up, which is on the back here.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really realize what was going on with that record when I had it. I just enjoyed it, and and I never bought Sunflower until like the '90s or whenever that twofer came out. Whenever they released this is when I bought it. I bought them all at once, all the twofers, and I really enjoy it. I think maybe I'm not sure, but is this the first time that Dennis Wilson's opens up lead vocal on a
It
Beach Boys
is.
album?
Yeah.
Because I remember listening to it the first time, and I'm going, "Who is that?" Because it didn't sound like Brian or Carl, and
Do you wanna dance? Is that not-
I didn't know how Dennis sounded that much because I don't remember him singing a whole lot of lead vocal in the early days.
Well, he said, he sang "Do You Want to Dance?" and
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
right.
it sounds like Dennis. You're just not used to.
But you
Normally, they
guys,
wouldn't have Dennis open a record, but
Although that was a cover, so yeah.
you
but
guys know,
still, this is very much a Dennis record. I'm just
Yeah.
going to say that.
I just want to say that you guys understand that, and the audience too probably don't know if they don't know me. In September, I'll be 70, so I heard all those early songs on the radio. They had hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Actually, I think they had more hits than the Beatles, but the Beatles were my favorite band, and I really enjoyed the Beach Boys, so it all worked out. But anyways, yeah, I think "Slip On Through" is a great song. This Whole World, I love it. I love This Whole World. Carl sings it. Brian wrote it for Carl. I've been doing some studying. I love Add Some Music to Your Day. I think that's one of the most beautiful songs. As a musician, since I've been playing music since 1965, what a wonderful song. I just love it. I'm not real good at descriptions. Got to Know the Woman. That's another Dennis lead vocal.
Hmm.
It's okay. Deirdre, I believe that's a Bruce Johnston song.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's About Time rocks my world. I love that song. I think it may go down in history as the fastest Beach Boys song ever recorded. That thing is amazing. It's like a punk song, but it's really well done. I mean, it's because when you got Brian Wilson behind the controls, it's gonna sound good. And yeah, I love It's About Time. I'm assuming that the lead vocal on that is Carl. I had it written down on my phone.
It's About Time.
It's About
Yeah.
Time is Carl. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I put him. I
Yeah.
actually put him in my photos. Look at this. I don't know if you can see that,
I've got Carl in my photos too.
but see what I'm saying. I found a thing that lists all the lead vocals,
Oh, yeah.
and then I took a screenshot of it so I wouldn't be like an idiot.
I mean, this record is pretty much a Dennis and a Brian Johnston record as far as lead vocals go. Of course,
Yeah, there's
Carl's
very little
on there,
Carl.
and Al's on there, of course, but it's quite a departure from what came before.
Tears in the Morning is a Bruce Johnston song. I was reading that when they did it live over in England, he kicked the entire band off the stage and sang it by himself. And they looked at him like,
Yeah, they weren't happy.
"You're going to get it when you come off stage. we're going to let you have it." And All I Want to Do is a Mike Love vocal. I don't really remember much about the song, and I heard it 3 times, so it doesn't ring with me. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Forever is beautiful, just a beautiful song, and I have that Beach Boys and American Saga
Hmm.
VHS tape that they put out. There's a scene where Dennis is singing that on stage, pretty much all by himself, and he can't hardly get any notes out. His voice is just absolutely trashed, and it's just sad, but it is also poignant, and the girls just love it. Our Sweet Love is a really cool song. It just shows Brian's ability to make all these chords out of and also there's Mellotron on that, and that always sounds good. And then At My Window Oh yeah, I was gonna say Our Sweet Love is the lead vocal by Carl again. God dang it, I can't keep that thing.
No,
going.
you're right. That's good. Yeah, you're
And
right.
At My Window, lead vocal Al Jardine.
Hmm.
No, excuse me, producer Al Jardine, lead vocal Bruce Johnston. And yeah, that's a pretty song. That's got Mellotron on it also. Very much in the beginning, that flute sound. And also there's an accordion sound too, which I believe is the Mellotron because there's an accordion in
No,
there.
actually, they hired a real accordion player. For
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, call me crazy. Anyways,
Okay, crazy.
Cool Water.
Crazy.
It's the best song on the
Crazy.
album. I love Cool Water. I have my stereo set up for phony surround sound in
Mhm.
Dolby Pro Logic 2, and I listened to Cool Water today that way with the stuff in my ears, and it's just the backing vocals on that song are insane. I just love it, and that's all because of Brian. But Mike Love sings the lead on that, and he does a great job. And he does a great job on Add Some Music to Your Day. I personally think this is the best Mike Love ever sounded on a Beach Boys
Yes.
album. And I love this record. 4.5, easy. No problem.
I'm just curious though with Cool Water, how much is that? Because we know some of it's from Love to Say Dada, and obviously you can tell what part that is. But how much of this came from the Wild Honey sessions, and how much was overdubbed from Sunflower? Does anybody know?
Yeah, quite a bit is the Wild Honey, and then 2020 they tried it again.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
don't know.
it's a bit of a hodgepodge.
I bet it's all on that Feel Flows box set that I can't afford.
Well, I can guarantee.
Let's see, Amazon Prime has that entire thing on there, and I downloaded it. So
Hey.
Oh, you've got that.
okay, is that the full one?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
How many LPs is that?
So it is 5 discs, but it's a lot of great a cappella stuff. To be honest, there's even more better Surf's Up stuff than there is Sunflower Session stuff.
Oh, really? Yeah, Surf's Up, my favorite song of all time.
But because there's a lot of stuff from Surf's Up on it, more than there is from Sunflower, and it's more of a case of the extra stuff you get from Sunflower is actually stuff that we'd see coming back later on, like Susie Cincinnati from Al and Good Time and whatnot, which we covered recently. So it's one of those kind of, there's not many outtakes that didn't make it. They tended to be just reused later on. So.
Well, I'm glad you let me go first because I probably had the lamest.
No, that was.
Zeb says Cool Water were recorded for Smile.
Well, Love to Say Dada was recorded.
Love to
for
Say
Smile.
Dada was, yeah.
Sorry, Zeb.
And I never heard that until the 2004 Brian Wilson release.
Yeah, where it became Blue Hawaii.
Get the 2 CD Feel Flows. Tons of extras on that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 12. The 2 disc Feel Flows.
It's the same thing he's got, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the first 2 discs of this, basically.
He's got 5 discs.
Okay, I was only aware that there was the big box set. I guess I didn't realize there was a 2 CD set.
You also get like a whole live concert from the era as well.
I'm assuming a lot of that's on the Unsurpassed Masters, probably.
Well, yeah, because a lot of it's for copyright protection rather than they actually wanted to release it.
Well, I'm poor and I'm on fixed income, so I use Amazon Prime for things like that.
Well, on the Unsurpassed Masters, Cool Water is part of Wild Honey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's quite a few tracks here that will be tracks they've done 3 times and now they're on the final. In fact, there's a couple that will be on Surf's Up that they try on this session and still don't make it until Surf's Up. So.
Yeah. So, Rand, what would you rate this record? Out of 5 or out of 10?
Yeah, I
What
gave it a 4.5.
4.5.
You give it a 4.5. And as far as tracks, what do you think like Forever's like the best? What are your favorite tracks on this record?
Oh, sure, yeah. This Whole World, Add Some Music to Your Day, It's About Time. Forever, yeah, I like it a lot. Our Sweet Love and Cool Water.
Yeah. Excellent. Ryan, what you got?
All right. So Sunflower. As we talked about in the last album, I like Love You a lot. I think I gave it like a 9 out of 10. Well, I think this is a better record than Love You.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it's a lot better actually. And I think that this is a Dennis Bruce album for sure. I mean, you get a lot of great Carl on here as well, though, too. So I don't want to just say it's them, but they're the ones who really drive this album over the edge for me. And then Mike Love sounds awesome on this album, too. Not a whole lot from Brian when it comes to vocals. I mean, you get some backing vocals, but not really any lone lead performances. But just so many great songs on here, a good variety of sounds too. I mean, you have your more classic Beach Boys type songs. You have like Motown tracks on here. You have beautiful ballads, etc. So like just going through the tracks here, Slip On Through. I said it kind of has like a garage rock, British Invasion, and R&B type of feel to it. It's a great Dennis vocal. It's cool that he opens because I love Dennis. He's so much heart in his voice and so much attitude on some of these more rocking songs. The chorus is pretty sweet on this one. It's very soulful. The verse kind of sounds very Doorsy to me in some ways. Which, you know, this came out in the 70s, so Doors were out for a couple years already, so possible they got some influence from them. This Whole World, I said, is a very, very Beach Boys sounding song, and you had the vibraphones and all the cool arrangements on it, and a tender Carl vocal performance, which I always love his vocals. He's such a beautiful singer and so much heart with him as well, and the backing vocals on here are beautiful as well. So Add Some Music to Your Day, as we mentioned, the only single to chart in the US, and it's a Mike Love vocal, and I think he does a great job on this one actually. And on top of that, there's great harmonies as well, and it just has a good psychedelic feel. Once again, it feels very Beach Boys to me. I love the arrangement around 2 minutes when the actual instruments kind of quiet down a little bit, focuses a bit more on the acoustic guitar and then Mike's vocals. And then like 40 seconds later, Mike starts to really lay it in with his vocals. He gets a bit more aggressive and it's just awesome. So let's see here. Got to Know the Woman, another R&B track with Dennis singing. I think this is probably the weakest song on the album, even though it's pretty solid. It's definitely the one that could be thrown away from the album. I think he gives a soulful and sassy vocal performance, though, and the bass on this is fantastic. I think that's Bruce playing, because I know Carl plays a little bit on here too, but pretty sure this one's Bruce.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of studio people on this. It's almost like the way it used to be, so who knows?
True.
I don't know.
Yeah, and the piano on this track is really integral to the groove. It's got like a kind of bluesy R&B type of feel. Definitely kind of the Motown type of sound on there. Deirdre. God, I love this song. It's so beautiful. This is the first Bruce ballad we have on the album, which there's 3 of them. And Brian also sings on this one as well during the chorus. But Bruce, as I was saying before, I think he's a huge part of the heart of this album. He has such a gentle voice and so instantly emotional. He nails it on here. And this performance is just so controlled and so graceful too. He's just dancing over the music with his vocals. Yeah. And the chord progression in the chorus gives me chills. The way it has those descending chords, it's just really, really well done there. And once again, excellent bass lines from Bruce. He's just smoking on this album. Really, really good sound there. And I think this is definitely one of the best tracks on the album. It's About Time is another total Motown song, and this one's even more Motown than the others that I've mentioned, the two Dennis songs. And this is a Carl vocal, which always a good thing. Never a bad Carl vocal. And so excellent bass playing on here, excellent atmosphere. And this one has one of the more prominent guitar solos that we hear on a Beach Boys song. Al is ripping on this track. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Tears in the Morning, another Bruce song, another ballad. This is very Beatles-like to me. I think the way it was arranged, the way it's structured, the way that Bruce sings on it, he's kind of got a little bit of a John Lennon type of voice on this song, which is pretty cool. Great vibraphone, great string arrangements on this track. It's just beautiful. Another one of the best songs on this album. One thing I love about Bruce's vocal performance on this one is the phrasing of the words. He kind of does some little moments where he kind of like stumbles a bunch of words together, and it's just so authentic and beautiful. And the ending on this one is great too, like the keyboards and stuff for piano at the end of it goes on for a really long time and just creates like a solemn atmosphere before we get into All I Want to Do. Just really great stuff there. And then All I Want to Do is one of, if not Mike Love's best vocal performance ever. This is known to be a very influential track on the album to genres like shoegaze, chillwave, lo-fi, etc. It definitely has a very hazy production to it. The drum sounds very distant in the mix, and it's just really, really beautiful. But like I said, one of the best Mike vocal performances, and it's very chill and psychedelic. Now, Forever. This is the first song I ever heard on this album. And it's just, I wrote in my notes, maybe the best song ever fucking made. It's so good.
Well, I must say you're not that far off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it is the best song, but it's high up there.
It's definitely, Ryan, it's definitely the best song on the record. I mean, it is. Dennis's delivery, the production, the background vocals on this song.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to it in a second. Like,
just saying, just throwing it out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, this song just makes me sob every time. I listened to it 3 times today, and every time I had tears coming down my eyes. It's just so beautiful. I mean, Bruce gives one of the most authentic vocal performances ever. You could just hear so much character and so much of his heart in what he's singing in it. I mean, it's not like the greatest vocal performance of all time in terms of tech.
Pretty damn good. I'll give you that.
It's pretty damn good. But I'm saying in a technical standpoint, probably not the greatest vocal performance ever. I mean, he's not even the best singer in the Beach Boys, but he's the most endearing singer in this band. And on this track, he shows it. It's like every word he sings, especially during that last verse, that's "so I'm going away." Oh, it just gets me every single time. It's just so beautiful. The backing vocals are larger than life. Beautiful guitar sound on this track. And my last note for this one is fuck John Stamos.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Ryan, this is a family show.
Whoops.
Why?
Oh, I'm just messing around.
So fuck him.
I'm
And the
joking.
rest
You can
of Full
say
House.
the F word all you want.
Is he still touring with the band? They're coming here to Reading,
Yes,
but I'm not going to go because I don't think it'd be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you
So-
know, Bruce and Mike with a whole bunch of young dudes, if that's what you want to go see.
Yeah.
Well,
But Our Sweet Love is another beautiful ballad on here. Great Carl performance, excellent backing vocals, beautiful piano and guitar sound. It's very, very well mixed. I mean, you get a cool volume for the guitar. It's almost like a little too loud, but it works so perfectly. It feels intentional to me. And the same with the piano. It's very, very prominent in this mix. And the harmonies just get me on this track. They're so beautiful. At My Window, another gorgeous Bruce song, his third ballad on here. He actually gives kind of like a little bit of a smoky vocal performance on this one. It's not quite as smooth as the others, but it's really, really beautiful. And he would also be the most endearing singer of the band, along with Brian as well. All these guys are just top notch, but wonderful guitar sound, nice little drum beats once in a while there. You get the tambourine throughout like the whole track, but you get like little dum 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 once in a while in the track, and it's so cool. Very well mixed and a nice booming bass on the track. Not like super loud, but it's definitely very, very prominent. Now, Cool Water is the most experimental track on the album. That intro literally just sounds like an acid trip. Brian and Mike sing on this one. There's nice little bubbly sound effects throughout. It's just really, really trippy and cool. Gorgeous harmonies. And I think as a closer, it's really solid. I mean, it's a weird closer, especially when you have a track like Forever, which could have been like a really impactful closer. That would have left me fucked up. I'm sorry, but if that was the closer on this album, it would be like my favorite album ever. It'd be like Caroline No levels, because I love that song.
Yeah.
That's like maybe the greatest closer on any album ever. Like, it's so good.
And it was intended to be a Brian Wilson solo song, too. It wasn't supposed to be on that album.
Yeah, and I'm so glad it was, because it's amazing. I mean, that, Forever, and Don't Talk, Put Your Head on My Shoulders. That's my three Beach Boys tracks.
Since you brought up Don't Talk, you have to listen to what Jeff Beck does with that thing.
Oh, I'll check it out.
18, unbelievable. I mean,
I'll check.
It just tear your heart apart. There's no words, but oh my God, when Jeff Beck plays, who needs words?
Oh yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks. So, I mean, overall, this is just an amazing album. I mean, I think my weakest track, like I said, is the girl. What is it?
The Dennis song?
Yeah. What's it called? Son of a bitch.
Got to Know the Woman?
Got to Know the Woman. That's how weak it is. It's forgettable.
I don't know. I still like it, though.
I like it. I like it, but compared to everything else, it definitely stands out on the album. But my favorite tracks on here, I would say, would be Deirdre, Tears in the Morning, All I Want to Do, Forever, One Sweet Love. That will be my favorite tracks. I actually think this is a backloaded album. I think side 2 of this album is so much better than side 1.
I appreciate you saying that, because I was thinking the same thing, Ryan.
They stopped doing the rock and R&B shit. Like, it's great stuff, but I think once we get into these really moody ballads, it's where the album really stands out. I think there's certain albums that are almost like heightened by their ballads, and this one's one of them, because they're just the best tracks on the album. But I'm going to give the album a 9.5 out of 10 or a 4.75 out of 5. It is definitely a better album than a lot of the stuff. Everything that came before Pet Sounds, it's better than. I think I probably like it more than Smiley Smile. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I can understand that.
And it's better than just about everything that came after it as well. There might be one album that's in between Pet Sounds and this that I might like a little bit more, but we'll see once we do the review on that. But this is top-notch Beach Boys, one of the best albums they ever made. And any band would be proud to have this album in their discography because it's a masterpiece.
Excellent review. Rand, you have a question?
No, I have a comment.
Please comment away.
I decided to check the Bible.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I found out that we are incorrect by saying that It's About Time was sung by Carl. Because Brian says it was sung by Dennis. He says, that's another Dennis one. Really good, Brian reflects. Dennis was very creative, a creative guy. This says the Santana-like Latin pivot of the percussion gave the song a nice tension, and the personal renewal described by the song's central character triggers a driving guitar break that makes his second chance seem both plausible and thrilling. An undidactic commentary on rock indulgence and self-redemption, it was also a wishful scenario regarding both Brian and Dennis Wilson's sporadic personal troubles. Dennis.
I think that Brian was just tripping balls.
No, it really is Dennis on there.
It's not. I'm looking it up online. It's Carl. Dennis wrote the song. Dennis wrote the song.
Read the first line. He said that's a Dennis one. He doesn't say it's a Dennis vocal. It's a Dennis song.
Yeah, he wrote the song.
He wrote the lyrics to it.
No, that's not what I'm seeing here.
Oh, you literally read it out, and that's what he said.
Well, I'm going on the edge and say it's a Beach Boys song.
rocker. It says a flat out rocker. But listen, I'll just read it. One of the vinyl version of Sunflower concludes with "It's About Time." A flat out rocker. This would be the side one, right? A flat out rocker by Dennis, Al Jardine, and writer Bob Birchman. That was the first person account of a fallen artist nearly destroyed by his fruitless search for a lost elation. And then Brian says right there, that's another Dennis one. Really good. He says he's singing the vocal.
No, he wrote
it.
He
says it's a Dennis song.
Yeah, he didn't. It's not Dennis singing on there. I could tell the difference between their voices. Yeah. Dennis could never hit those notes.
That's Carl. That's Carl's voice. Yeah.
I'm just reading. I'm just reading the words, man. You guys can think what you want. I'm not here to argue.
Okay. I think it's a great Beach Boys song. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, I love the tune. Ow.
So, Ryan, you would give this, I'm sorry, but you would give this a rating of what?
9.5 or 4.75.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty damn good. Because Pet Sounds would be a 5.
Yeah, I would definitely
give
it's a 5.
Like the greatest album ever made.
Yeah, that's why we have to use Pet Sounds as the barometer, really.
There you go, Zeb.
Yeah,
it's about time. Lead vocals, Carl with... I defer to Zeb on everything.
You can defer to your ears. It's Carl's voice.
Well, I can't bring it up right now. I can't. Anyway, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. That is... Hey, yep. Christopher, how are you? Nice. Nice you could show up. Zeb, written by Dennis Wilson, Carl Wilson, and Bob and Jardine. Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to Bob. Berkman?
They used to just add friends who would come over, get stoned, and write maybe one line. They would get a credit on songs. So a lot of them were never, ever industry people.
Christopher, you do need to listen to this record. I agree.
Oh, yeah, it's a must listen. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Zeb, we're giving it another great review.
Yeah.
Well, like Zeb said, he gave it a 9 out of 10. Remove Tears in the Morning, and it's a 10 out of 10. Tears in the Morning doesn't bother me, though.
I love it.
I love
the chord progression, the way it changes from major to minor in the same chord.
The
goes
thing
from
is,
A major 7th to an A minor. It's just beautiful.
Why did it take so long for them to give Bruce Johnston 3 tracks on a record where he didn't get any tracks before?
Because it was always considered to be just the live Brian stand-in and not...
Well, you know,
what changed? They decided to really take him in as a...
Well, what changed was really struggling to find material, hence having to go back to Smile so often, hence having to go back to Friends and 2020 sessions. And
He
Bruce,
didn't really replace Brian. He replaced Glenn Campbell.
well, yeah, but
Who
it was
replaced
the
Brian?
Brian
Replaced
part.
Brian. But I'm just saying that when Bruce Johnston came in, Brian wasn't the guy he was replacing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but nobody's going to say he's replacing Glenn Campbell in the
I
Beach.
just did.
The classic member of the Beach Boys, Glenn Campbell.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Only on the live shows.
Terry, I keep wanting to call him Terry for some reason, but Bruce Johnston has said that he had to put on Glenn Campbell's pants that were 3 sizes too small and a shirt that wouldn't fit and go out and play.
Yeah, Glenn was getting a bit too big to be in the Beach Boys session band at this point, wasn't he? So
Coming the beach ball, but
The beach ball. Tears should have been on a 7-inch as a beard. Oh,
no,
I don't
we'll
know
get
about
to that.
Zeb says Daydream is great though.
Yeah, the vocals on Deidre are really beautiful.
Tough one, Chris. It's my top 5. Smile,
That's a good list right there.
Pet Sounds, Friends, Sunflower, and Holland. That's a good list.
Mm-hmm. And so many are from similar kind of sessions.
Well, Zab, I love Smile. That's my favorite.
It's my favorite.
I'll take all the sessions. I don't care if
Yeah.
it never really materialized. I think all that's brilliant. So let's go over to Davy. Davy, what's your
Okay.
whole thoughts on Sunflower?
So here's the British LP of Sunflower. And it's a bit different from the American one.
It's got cotton fields on it, doesn't it?
Yes, it opens with cotton fields. And look, remember last month I criticised Mike for thinking he was Jesus? Look at this picture here. He's the Maharishi.
He is the Maharishi.
Look at that. I mean, I know he obviously was on the retreat with the Maharishi and the Beatles in '68, but I mean, he's literally feeding, Jesus love there. Whereas you've got, look how badass Carl looks there. Carl the cowboy. So that's the big difference here. Everything is just moved up one. It's not resequenced at all because it is a really short record. What is it, 29 minutes if you take out Cotton Fields? It's about 29:40, something like that. So there's plenty of room to add a track on. And Cotton Fields had been an unexpected smash hit single in the UK, so they just added it on. It was a number 5 record out of nowhere. So they just added it straight on to the start here. And it's completely out of place. It is such a bizarre opening to the record to just suddenly be in Cotton Fields, the Lead's Belly version, and it's the album cut as well, which I don't like. I like the single version of Cotton Fields much, much better. But apart from that, everything else has just moved one forward. So they haven't resequenced anything else. I don't really count it as part of the album, even if it was part of the UK. To me, it still starts with Slip On Through. That is just one of my favourite upbeat Beach Boys tracks ever because it feels like Dennis having a real coming out party saying, I can be the band leader here. I can be the R&B guy as well. It's not just Carl. Denny had always been considered the kind of laid-back party guy. Once the tracks were done, he would just split and he'd be the first out the door and be going to parties or at the beach. This is where Dennis really comes into his own as, actually, no, I'd quite like to be a musician as well. Kind of starts with this period. And Slip On Through is such a great performance by him with great backing vocals. But he's hitting notes that nobody really thought Dennis was able to hit, including Dennis. And I love that he's kind of straining for them as well. He's not got that Carl perfection, that Brian perfection, where he's hitting the high notes. You can hear the strain in his voice where he's going, and like he just can't quite get where they would. I wouldn't switch them. I wouldn't have Mike. I certainly wouldn't have Mike. I wouldn't have Carl or Brian doing Slip On Through because I think that kind of vulnerable stretching of the voice gives it that kind of cool R&B feel. I wonder if there's anyone in the world preferring John Stamos' version of Forever. Not even John Stamos prefers that version. Full House. Do you know, I was reading apparently in the new revival of Full House, which who asked for that? He sings that again.
I remember.
Get some new material, buddy. Been hanging about with Mike Love too long. Let's just do the hits. It's automatic when I talk. This Whole World is one of those songs that when you've listened to it, it's less than 2 minutes, but it feels like you've heard 5 minutes worth of music. It's so dense. and populated with pure Wilsonness, really. I mean, it's Carl's great lead vocals, Brian in the background with some double track vocals going on. As we said, Brian unfortunately doesn't take much lead in any of the process here, but you've also got Marilyn and Diane doing some backing vocals on it as well, which is pretty cool. Because they would go on to record it for Spring, which was an album we talked about on the last episode, Grant.
Mm-hmm.
They would record that for Spring, which is pretty cool. And Brian revisited this whole world in a really stripped down version for his solo. I just wasn't made for these times, way forward in the 90s, in a really cool version. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No? Who?
Voices in my head, probably.
It's probably the voices.
Yeah. One day I'll listen to them. What a dark day that'll be. Add some music to your day. I love that. It's a kind of celebration just of everything we love about music lyrically. And again, like we were saying last night about Prince, Ryan, you don't often get credit for the Beach Boys in terms of their lyrics or their messages. And I kind of like just the celebration of music and whatnot, because we've moved on from, and this is why Mike doesn't have a lot of co-writing credits, we've moved on from just girls and cars here, and they're just celebrating life, the universe and everything, which will continue through the 70s. It's a much more mature Beach Boys, probably since about Wild Honey lyrically. They're kind of moving on to more adult themes as they're settling down into family lives and whatnot. And it's a great kind of, I mean, add some music to your day. You can almost hear that being done in a more early Beach Boys version, because they do that round robin singing thing where they all take a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this more mature sound for it. Got to Know the Woman. It's a kind of cool R&B song. You've got quite a few session singers. Some nice piano stuff, but I don't know. It does feel like we're still only at 27 minutes. What else can we add on to make it 29? Because we need 29 for Capitol to put it out. It doesn't quite feel like the best of the album sessions. Deirdre is very much a Bruce Johnson track, very much. Now, Grant, on your show not too long ago, when we talked about albums that we'd paid a lot for, and I pulled out all my solo Beach Boys collection.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all of Bruce's solo stuff, and all Mike loves solo stuff. I've pretty much got all of solo stuff. On this, Deirdre, Bruce Johnson re-recorded that for Going Public, which was one of the albums that I had in that stack, which was 77. And he always thought that it was out of place here, and he didn't like this version. Actually, I think he's wrong, because it's very dated, the 1977 version. And I'm sorry, but his solo cuts, when you've got the Wilson brothers, I think you've got a little bit more added. There's nothing wrong with Deirdre. But it's kind of cool that we've got a couple of different versions. But it is interesting that Bruce he didn't have enough material even 7 years later to try and launch his own solo career without nicking his own stuff from back in the Beach Boys catalogue. It's About Time. That's a really cool track. Again, it is sung by Carl, but Dennis did a lot of the lyrics. I wondered if it was too personal for Dennis, because it was about the period where Dennis was starting to get really into some bad scenes, as we know. We'd already had the Manson stuff, which was all through Dennis, and he was in a bit of a bad way already. Vocally, that wasn't quite the case yet. It was sometimes on the live shows, but vocally he was fine. But he was already into some scenes where the guys weren't quite trusting him. So I wonder if it was too personal or too obvious to put him as the singer on it, and that's why. Because Carl gives it a real emotional take without really being too confessional, which I think it might have been if Denny actually did it himself. But it does have a nice Latin beat to it as well, which is something quite different for the Beach Boys. It's quite a almost marimba beat to it. We move on to side 2 then, and that opens with Tears in the Morning, which I adore, absolutely adore. To me, it sounds like I hope this was a hit in the US and I'm not referencing something that goes, Peter Starstead's "Where Do You Go To, My Lovely"? Was that ever a hit in the US?
Not that I recall.
Where do you go to, my lovely? It's very much an accordion-driven ballad, very much in this style, where Peter Sarstead, an English singer, put on this ridiculous kind of almost fake French accent. You walk like a Marlene Dietrich. It's quite ridiculous, but it's got almost exactly the same arrangement. It's quite weird, except for what that song doesn't have is this amazing Bruce performance, which is fragile as hell. Feels like he's going to fall apart at any moment. He's pushing the vocal again, but in a different way to the way Denny was, where he's pushing it throaty. He's pushing it, and his voice is so thin and reedy when he gets to the high notes that it sounds like it's going to fall apart. And it should be quite thin, but it's not. It's just vulnerable. And Ryan's right. The phrasing on it is fantastic. You know, when he's just hitting some odd words and he holds on them for a way that you wouldn't do if you were, say, Carl. So you made it on up to Europe. Space. You know, like he's hitting kind of these little bizarre lines, these little phrases that are very European. And obviously you've got the French accordion coming in and he's literally singing about Europe. So I think he is, and the Beach Boys, of course, at this point were touring Europe much more than the US because they were having hit singles over here. And there's a reason why the live album came from London at this period. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see that they're kind of influenced by that. All I Want to Do, Mike, if you're watching, this is your best ever vocal, buddy. I'm sure Mike's tuning into all my videos. I think he's one of my subscribers. Again, this was one that was done on Friends sessions. It was on the 2020 sessions. If anybody follows the Beach Boys digital stuff, every year or two they do a big drop to protect the copyright, and you kind of find out, even if it's not been bootlegged, what has. Sometimes we find out, whoa, that song actually came in sessions 2 years before anybody knew, even bootleggers. And this was one of them at the time. But Friends and 2020 sessions eventually kind of morphed into that. And Ryan's right; it kind of gave us an early shoegaze kind of feel, chill wave. You know, it's got that kind of vibe to it. But nobody would have obviously called it that back then. But it's just more an influential track, and we kind of know how often that kind of stuff happens with the Beach Boys, where people would pick up just a little aspects of their stuff and run with it, you know, whether it be the arrangements, whether it be the vocal harmonies, influential in a great many different ways. Carl's production on it is very good. Carl produces a lot of this record, which hasn't been mentioned yet. Brian didn't, or if he did, he produced very little, and then Carl had to go back in and finish it. So this is really where Carl starts to be the fixer-upper, and having to, because he'd been kind of following Brian in the studios a lot, because when old Carl was kind of worshipped Brian, they were always very, very close. He was the closest to Brian until, well, we won't go into the Dr. Landy stuff later on, but it's a song, All I Want to Do, that actually sounds better now, I think, than it did even 10 years ago. It becomes more of a contemporary song the more I listen to it. Forever, again, do we even need to go into it? It's just, I think Brian said it's one of his favorite Beach Boys songs. So, you know, that says a lot. It's falling on the floor. It's my note here just says, when even John Stamos in Summer in Paradise and Full House can't ruin your song, you know, you've got a hell of a song to start with.
Right.
I mean, it's a prayer. It's a devotion. It's a beautiful track. To call it a ballad just sounds like a type of song, but it is a pure ballad in terms of, this is heart and soul stuff from Dennis here. This is him saying, I can really do this. I'm not just saying, give me a shot and I'll try it. He can really do it. He can really do it. If you had a single that was Slip On Through and this is a double A side, I think Dennis would have had a solo deal at this point based on those talents. If you can do Slip On Through and Forever. Our Sweet Love, again, comes from Friends. That's an outtake that's been repurposed. Carl does great on it, but Brian had kind of left it and didn't want to go back and revisit it, and Carl had to finish it off. It's this kind of period where we're saying, smile, friends, everything is pulled forwards. It's not that they've run out of ideas, but it's the ideas they have already. They're saying they're too good to just ignore. There's something in there that's definitely worth using. Let's pull it back and let's keep it. Which is smart, because why come up with new stuff when you do have the Smile Session 2020, when you've got that kind of stuff in the vaults? Why not kind of repurpose it when you haven't done? It's too good to lose. The idea of some of these tracks never having been made or only coming out in fragments 50 years later would be kind of tragic. At My Window, that's a kind of fun track. That almost sounds more like something that would have inspired the early Beach Boys. What was the band that Brian loved the vocal harmonies of that inspired him as a kid?
Four Freshmen.
Four Freshmen, that was it. It sounds like something they could have done, or the Kingston Trio, like, the harmonies and things. That's very much where it seems to be built from. And again, as mentioned, there's an accordion on there that Rand's right. At the time, you would almost think it would be Mellotron because it's just that era. But they did get a real accordion player in, and the production does kind of give it a Mellotron feel, the way that it's been processed. But it is an actual accordion player. So we are at that point where the Beach Boys are starting to go back into having bigger productions in terms of session musicians again. Yeah. We've not got the Wrecking Crew, but we've got players. We've got notable players, because most of the Wrecking Crew at this point were kind of stars in their own right, and the Beach Boys weren't quite as big, so they couldn't quite afford those production sizes anymore. Cool Water, again, we've covered that. It started out as Love to Say Dada. It was tried again, Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, and it was Lenny Waronker from, better pronounce that right, from Warner's, who said there's something in that. You should really try and work on that. And it was the band had to be convinced to go back and finish it. So Brian hates it. He thinks that it's one of the worst things on the album, and he didn't like the
chanting,
the chant part. But then when he did Smile in 2004, he used the chant part in Blue Hawaii again. So you think, well, I guess it's Brian. He's entitled to change his mind. But he said the one thing he would take out is the chant. And then when he does his own version, he puts the chant back in. I kind of love that. He changes his mind. That's fine. It's Brian Wilson. Who are we to tell him if he's right or wrong? But it's just a gorgeous track. So it's a great ending. But I'm kind of, now that it's been suggested by Ryan, I do think, wouldn't Forever been just an amazing way for this to just slide out, and it would also have been great for Dennis to start and end the album. That would have really been this is a Dennis record kind of feel if that had been the case. But yeah, as it is, Cool Water is such a great track. So I'm not going to diss it as an ending, but I just think now that Ryan suggested it, I wonder if that was part of the deal, though. That, no, come on, you've had the opener, you can't have the closer as well. You have to be a bit more democratic than that.
I would have rather had him as the closer than the opener with a song like Forever, honestly. Not to say that.
I love Slip On Through as an opener. I think that's such a great, as you mentioned, that vocal that comes in at the start, that lots of people were simply too good. And then when that just hits him with the baby, it's like, whoa. Beach Boys are back.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's great. But I'm just saying, if I had to choose either him be the opener or the closer, I'd probably pick Forever as the closer.
Yeah.
I'd say it'd be a great closer.
It would be a great closer.
It would have been a great single, too. I don't know why they never released it as a single.
I don't know why they didn't release that and Deirdre. I think those two would have been better singles than what they chose.
Yeah, I mean, Slip On Through was the single, and then Tears in the Morning was the follow-up. And, they didn't do anything, really.
Well, traditionally, record companies choose singles, not the bands.
Well, yeah, but they didn't choose very well.
Yeah, And then the next going into the next year, Cool Cool Water, and then Forever was a B-side. I mean, Forever is your B-side on the third single from the album. Come on.
That's called Buried.
I mean, to me though, that just says again, the record company had no faith that that's not Beach Boys' song. Forever is not the kind of song people want from the Beach Boys. Because as we know, they had constant battles to, no, we're not going to do one about surfing. No, we're not going to do Cars this time. That kind of stuff. So,
Okay, it came out on Brothers Records, right? And that's really Reprise. Guess who owned Reprise?
Reprise Records, yeah. But they didn't have creative control. They just had a sub-label.
Frank Sinatra owned Reprise.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think he did at this point. I think he sold his interests.
That I'll tell you a lot about why the singles are different than what.
Yeah, but don't forget the Beach Boys at this time. This was their low point.
Yeah,
no one cared about the Beach Boys.
They got dropped by Capitol.
But they weren't getting any sales.
I don't think they got dropped. I think 2020 was the end of their contract.
Yeah.
Whatever, but Pet Sounds was a financial disaster.
Well, yeah, we talked about that in the last one.
That's why they released Beach Boys Party to get some money.
No, Beach Boys Party came before Pet Sounds.
Yeah, it was really greatest hits.
I was going to say that I think if I were them picking a single, I would have wanted to pick something that didn't sound like exactly like a Beach Boys song, because obviously the Beach Boys sound wasn't really doing them favors anymore.
But it was, though, if you think about it, because the last time they had a real smash hit single was Do It Again.
And that was 68.
So that was their last smash hit single, and that was very much a let's do another Beach Boys type song. So every time they struggled for a hit single, they would always return to that formula, which is kind of sad, because there's so much more creativity than that. But after all these years, it's all been done. We can just value what we can listen to. We don't need to worry about the chart performances. It's sad that they were doing nothing in America, because this is probably the point where they're absolutely massive in Europe. They were doing so much business over here. Hence, Cotton Field's been added to the record because it was such a smash hit single. But if I had to rate it, it would be a 9, or on your show, Grant, a 4.5.
I just go with the traditional rating system.
Way to go!
And I wouldn't consider Cotton Fields, even though yes, it's on the British record. To me, it's not. That's just an EMI UK edition. It's nothing to do with anything. So no. As it is, 29 minutes of greatness, 4.5.
Grant, before you go,
Yes,
I forgot to mention something about add some music to your day, and it's something that always hits me when I listen to it every time. You know the kids on the album? They're kids on the cover. Mike sounds like he's singing to those kids. The way he sings it, it sounds like he's singing it to children instead of like adults. I mean, that's how I feel it.
I could see that.
Just the way he doesn't put any inflection in his voice, like sounding fancy. You know what I mean? It's just very linear notes. He just shoots the note out, doesn't vibrate it or anything. Doesn't try to sound like, oh, hey, I'm cool, I'm a rock star. It sounds very humble. And for Mike Love, coming off humble is pretty rare.
I was going to say, he's never going to pull off cool, was he? Let's be honest.
Well, when you're just like the Maharishi, I don't know.
Well, MIU. But do you guys hear that? I mean, in that song, it just sounds like it almost sounds like it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like you're in music church or something, and
I need to listen to it again. I need to listen to it with that in mind, Rand, because I can't hear it in my head just thinking that.
Yeah, because he goes. I mean, it's very elementary. It's kind of like.
But I mean, we did praise Mike on the last episode on Johnny Carson of all things for having, when it comes to, hey Grant, stop it. When it comes to having a bit of a sense of humor, he knows when to let's have a bit of fun with it. So his voice was dripping with sarcasm, and that's why Johnny hated Johnny Carson. You know, He speaks in such a manly tone.
Yeah.
So Mike, right? Okay, I'm not a Mike Love fan. I think that's on record. And he reads it in his Twitter feed every day. But yeah,
He
Mike
should
Love.
never do blues licks.
No,
That's a C minor blues lick, and it
you know, he's
it
the
just
epitome of,
doesn't
you
work
know,
in that song.
die the hero or live long enough to become the villain, isn't he? But however, this I think we all agreed was Mike's best vocal performance on this record. You know, although I do, you know, for what the early stuff was, when, you know, if you wanted the kind of preppy voice to do the fun stuff, Mike's perfect for that.
Yeah.
I think there's no denying how important Mike was to the early part of this band.
Yeah. Once they outgrow the types that should be wearing varsity jackets and whatnot, maybe not so much. But yeah, you can believe Mike in fun, and I Get Around in those kind of tracks. You can believe that's Mike. But yeah. But,
Ernesto does have a good point. To the Beach Boys own the rights to their music, and I don't know.
Not the old songs.
Yeah, no.
Because Murray sold them. They were called
Murray
Yeah,
sold
but
them.
who owns them now? That's what
Don't
I'd like
know.
to know.
Well,
Probably Paul McCartney.
yeah, Michael Jackson still owns them from Beyond the Grave. I mean, Brother Records, Capitol Records. I'm just looking at anything here. Universal obviously own Capitol these days. But yeah, that's all it says here.
I don't know, Ernesto. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Because it's not so much who owns the music, it's who owns the publishing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the big thing these days. We're constantly reading about these, you know, Dylan sold his catalog publishing rights for $200 million and Springsteen for $300 million. And that's where the real money is, music publishing. It's not so much the actual masters anymore, which it was. It's now the publishing rights. Because there's so much money in advertising and whatnot, and you can certainly make a pretty penny if you've got the rights to stuff like I Get Around and Fun and Good Vibrations and whatnot.
Just think how much Bruce Johnston made up on Mandy.
Yeah.
He made a crap load off of Mandy.
That's such a weird. Bruce did Mandy. I know that's so weird. I forgot that. Yeah.
Well, if you look at Daydream and all that, it fits right in.
No, it's just the fact that everybody thinks of that as being by
Barry.
I don't think we'll ever be doing a Barry show, but you know.
Wasn't it? Wait, did I get the title right? I thought it was something about making the music, or God, what was that title?
The Man Who Makes the Music.
No, it's a real popular Barry Manilow song. Something about.
Is it not just something like I'm the man that makes the music? I'm the man that. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So the original title wasn't Mandy?
Well, I think that I made a mistake when I said Mandy. It's like
No, Mandy's the one Bruce Johnston, right?
I make the music that we.
Yeah, I make the music that the world listens to.
Oh, I make the music that makes the
whole world sing?
Yeah,
that was written by.
Can you tell we're not really big Barry Manilow fans?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Bruce Johnston made a fortune on that tune.
Yeah,
because there's so many times that Barry Manilow and other people have covered it.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving right along, Grant's got to say what he's got to say.
Well, I don't think I could elaborate any more than what Davy's already done. But I would give this a 4.5 out of 5 and a 9 out of 10 probably.
Wow.
Because it is great. It's almost as good as Pet Sounds. The fact that they were able to produce this, they brought back the studio players. In fact, this makes me want to ask a question of Davy. On your box set, does it list any of the studio players that were on this record? Were any of the Wrecking Crew on it at this point?
Let's have a look. So it's got all the writing credits, but let's have a look. You keep talking while I'm looking, though, rather than
Zeb says, I think they own everything from 70 to 2020. Ernesto, Wilson controlled the Beach Boys publishing until 69 when he sold Sia Tunes to Irving Almo Music in exchange for okay.
Yeah, when Muddy sold it.
But so it never changed hands since? That's what I'd like to know. Because I don't think Michael Jackson owns the Beatles stuff anymore. I think that's went over to Sony Music.
No, Paul got it back.
Paul got it back. Yeah,
Paul's got it back.
Paul got it back. Yeah.
He owns all the Beatles now except for George Harrison and Ringo Starr.
When did that happen? I must have missed it.
A couple of years after Michael died.
Good, because Paul should have it.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's just listed as a massive list here. But looking at it, there are some names who there's certainly some names who would know from Beach Boys. Ricky Fataar's on here.
Of course.
Blondie Chaplin, of course. Who I love his solo debut. It's one of my favorites. James Burton's on here. Now, when you think that this was right at the height of Elvis and the TCB era, James Burton would have been rather busy with Elvis in Vegas.
And Ricky Nelson.
Yeah, but that was years earlier.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
great guitar player.
Right here, this is when he was recording with Elvis all the time and playing in Vegas with him. Charles Lloyd, David Cohen, so many good session guys here. Alva Vesco, Sonny Curtis, Doug Dillard from the Dillard Brothers, Ray Coleman.
Ray was on Smile stuff. And
El Palmer, Frank Capp, Mitchell Peters, and then unfortunately does see all the orchestra players. Carol Kay's back, so there's a wrecking crew member.
There you go.
Roy Catton, David Duke. However, they seem to be credited more for their Surf's Up master backing stuff that was brought forward. So I don't think they came back for this. And then on the live recordings, they were joined by Tony Tennille.
Oh, I'm sure Daryl Dragon was in the band then.
Yes, Daryl Dragon's the next name. Matt Jardine, bit nepotism. Jeff Foskett, who we know would be a face around the band for a while. Bobby Figura, Rob Abtack, Mike Meros, Carla Minoz, and Richie Kanata. Daryl Dragon's on there as additional arrangements as well. Michael Columbier seems to be Bruce Johnston's friend because he's credited for arrangements on both Deirdre and Tears in the Morning, and Roger Newman is on horn arrangements. There you go.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, because I was wondering if Dennis Wilson maybe not playing drums on It's About Time. That song is really fast.
That's right, Hal Blaine.
Could have been Hal Blaine. I would
was
think.
Hal Blaine on there?
He's not listed here at all. No, Carol is the only proper Wrecking Crew, vintage Wrecking Crew member listed.
But sometimes the contracts will prevent people from getting their names, like Rick Wakeman on Cat Stevens' Morning is Broken isn't listed because he worked for the same company, A&M, and he couldn't do it.
He was already bigger then, though. I don't think the Wrecking Crew were signed to anything particular, but who knows? You're right. And
could have been anybody, but the drummer on It's About Time. I mean, it's jaw dropping. They called it that Santana Latino sound.
I mean, and when you hear the first 3 or 4 Beach Boys records, they don't play any of it really.
Yeah, most of that stuff's Hal Blaine.
Yeah.
And of course, Hal's great.
Hal's great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'd give it a 4.5 or a 9 out of 10. And I think Slip On Through, This Whole World, Add Some Music to Your Day. I mean, Forever is the best track on the record. And, I do like the tracks, All I Want to Do that they brought back from Friends and Our Sweet Love. I mean, Side 2 strong. I'm just amazed. I know I said that before, but I just wish they would have tapped Bruce Johnston more because what he brings to this record,
he's a talent. He really is.
I've got a talent. I've got that 77 solo record, and it's not got songs on it. So I wonder if he just had some good tracks and then just struggled. It was a bright star that fizzled out. But Bruce was already a recording artist before he ever joined the Beach Boys.
With
the Pajama Party. Yeah, I mean, I had that on your show last time as well, Grant. So I mean, that's why they tapped him up because he was already doing what the Beach Boys were doing. So.
When I was a kid,
he and Terry Melcher had that band.
When I was a kid, Hey Little Cobra was a huge hit, and so was Little Honda, and the Ripcords had done both, and Bruce was all over that stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't quite get the credit that it should, as part of that early scene. I think because he did end up joining the Beach Boys, he's considered a Beach Boys footnote rather than someone else who was actually quite big in his own right before the Beach Boys recruited him.
Have you guys watched that movie that I think Dick Clark put it out called Summer Dreams?
No, no.
I own it on VHS, but it's great. If you can try to find that, it's really good. Because they talk about finding Bruce and they go, "Oh yeah, he's from the Ripcords. We got to get that guy."
I remember the other American Dream is the one that I'm thinking of.
And well, no, I think it's called An American Saga, but that's the documentary. I'm talking about a real movie.
Oh, a movie, like made for TV.
The guy that the star of American Werewolf or Werewolf in London or whatever that movie's called. The star of that movie plays Brian.
What was the Dennis movie called again? Remember, there was a Dennis one.
Yeah, there's a Dennis one. And they go into the thing with Manson and all that, and Dennis goes to his dad and he knocks on the door and he goes, "Pops, I need help. I'm in trouble."
Yeah, it's a real hard watch that because I
love that movie. It's really well done.
Yeah,
I was really blown away how good that is. They go into the Landy part and all that, and it's just an amazing historical thing. But I can't remember that guy's name. What is David? Somebody?
It's not the guy from Local Hero because he was the other guy in.
Right. No, it's. I know the only movie that he did before that was American Werewolf in London.
David Naughton.
David Naughton, yeah, he plays Brian Wilson. Yeah. Really well done. Guess who plays Dennis? Bruce Greenwood from Star Trek.
Well,
I've never even seen it, so I have no idea.
It's so
from Star Trek.
And I forgot who plays Mike Love, but he's a jerk through the whole film.
Well, that's what he does.
Yeah. He says, "Stick with the formula."
All right, kids. Well, I guess we've covered it.
Sunflower is a great album.
It's a great album.
It sounds probably number 2 in the rankings. I don't know. I think Smile is actually better than Pet Sounds, but I love Pet Sounds. To me, they're kind of like.
Well, I think if Smile would have actually came out.
Yeah. Because
I'll take any of the Smile tracks. I mean, it's absolutely bald, brilliant stuff, whether it's done or not.
For me, She's Going Bald ruins.
I feel like every time we go in,
that should have never been put on a record. That song sucks so bad.
Smile's always the kind of cloud over all our Beach Boys talks, isn't it? But to be honest,
the what if?
I think Brian finished it.
I did too.
Well, if you listen to what is on the box set, what they compiled, I'd say it was pretty much done.
But it wasn't. So, we know that they still had another 2 weeks booked and Brian was already erratic for the last half of the recording. So we'll never quite know what it would have been. We know that Van Dyke was kicked out. So what would it really have been?
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you guys too. Was this the album where the reason that Brian's not singing lead vocal, is this where he's about ready to go to bed for 3 years or 4 years?
Just about, yeah.
5 years. Because he's not very on Surf's Up either, is he? Other than production.
No, and again, that's when they just start pulling older tracks forwards. But again, when you've got Surf's Up sitting in the vaults, I think that's probably a smart move to pull it out. So
I love that album.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah, that's the one I was most used. What do you guys think of A Day in the Life of a Tree? Nobody in the Beach Boys wrote that song.
We probably should save it for an episode on it.
That'd be fun. Can we do a Surf's Up episode, Grant?
Well, we're going to go through the whole damn thing.
Oh, cool.
Eventually, I'll be 100, or I could be dead by the time we're done. But
hey, I'm closer than anybody, so after 30 years for me.
Paradise, we'll all wish we were there. I'll tell you that much. Jesus Christ.
Hey Zeb, I got the 2 CD Feel Flows as we were sitting here. I just got it.
You just got it? You
bought it while we were talking?
It's $16. You get the original Sunflower, original Surf's Up, and then both of them get a bunch of bonus tracks.
Cool.
This
here's Ernesto. Dig this.
At one point. And I wouldn't have paid more than that for this, but this went down to 40.
How much?
40, so that's what, $50?
That's
It was-
cheap.
No, it's 85 now on Amazon.
That's what I'm saying. Just like the Pet Sounds
Well-
box set, that went down, and now that goes for like $200.
Well, now I'm going to have to get it. You've got me all worked up.
No, I wouldn't say this is essential because there's loads of live stuff, and there's cool session stuff. But again, a lot of it is stuff that you will then hear on other albums, just beefed up.
I just want to throw this out to you.
Thank you.
And you're saying what's essential? I will say that this is definitely essential. And the Summer Days and Summer Nights box is essential. It's all essential. Anyway,
I have the Pet Sounds box.
yeah, but I've got the Unsurpassed Masters, the 8 CDs of it.
Wow.
We're due another Pet Sounds box. We've only had 2 so far, the big box sets. We've had the 30th and the 50th, and we're due a 55th in a couple of years, aren't we?
They'll
You guys
probably
have
bring
the
it back
green,
out.
Do you guys have the Green Velvet 5.1 deluxe one?
Yep.
That's really neat.
See, I don't have any 5.1, so I really don't care.
No, mine's small, size of a CD.
I'm sorry to hear that, Rand.
Well,
Here's
Green Velvet, you
Here's
can put
mine.
your
It's nice
hands
and big.
across it. It's kind of like the Bee Gees Odessa.
But yeah, this is. Although this doesn't have everything that the 30th box set does, so you still need to keep the 30th anniversary set as well. So,
And Davey, that little snippet of audio that I played earlier,
yeah. I loved Mike being called out as a racist. Nobody.
off of this.
That sounds like that. That sounds like that Sonny Wilson versus Cassius Love off
Yeah.
of Shutdown Volume 2.
These Unsurpassed Masters, there's all kinds of promos and radio station stuff.
Do you know that's one reason I'm glad that they just started repurposing songs, because I hated it when they put on those stupid joke tracks at the end of albums, and they're the ones. Hate those tracks.
Well,
I
on
never saw the reason for it myself.
on the
Just to get
Unsurpassed
get
Masters
their
version,
opinion.
it's the whole unedited thing.
You see, the Beatles didn't do that. They put out those Christmas singles and stuff. They weren't adversarial.
Yes, Zeb, they do sound better than whatever they've released. These are straight dubs off the tapes.
Are these
We're
bootlegs?
not, yeah, but they're not
Yeah.
cassette dubs. I mean, they're the real deal.
There's stuff on them that they're saying in the sessions that they do not want to be officially released, to say the very least.
If you go to Discogs, you'll hit a, oh no, we can't find that.
No, you can't buy any of these. They won't sell them.
No, but
I
they
had to
are-
buy them off a guy who bought them off someone who, I don't know. I just happened to stumble upon them, and I bought the whole freaking thing, all of them. I'm only missing 2 of them, which is the Good Vibrations box and something else.
Well,
But I
I'm
used to have them a long time ago, but I sold them like an idiot.
I'm going to listen to. Oh, have you heard of the? This is totally weird, but I'm going to mention it. Have you heard of Colt Clark and the Quarantine Kids?
No.
They do all these videos because they were stuck in the house, and they're real talented, and they're really young kids, and it's the dad that's doing, like the guitar playing and mostly and stuff. They did Good Vibrations the other day. It's actually phenomenal. Got to see it to believe it. I mean, these kids are like 7 and 8 years old. I mean, they're really talented.
I don't think I'd ever want to meet the Quarantine Kids. That sounds absolutely terrifying.
Well, they're stuck in their house. I mean, it's like,
Are they still stuck in their house?
not now, but I'm just
Right.
saying that, just to see the video one time. They do Beatles most of the time.
I'm
and they
thinking
did
of that Japanese soldier that for 20 years was convinced the war was still going on.
Camel Nude. Anybody a Camel fan? No.
Yeah, I've got Camel.
Wonderment still before.
Well, that's what that's.
I've
about.
got the Wonderment CDs.
Yeah, Wonder.
Stereo Lab. I've got Stereo Lab.
Wonderments are quite an obvious one considering what they went on to do. Yeah.
That first Wonderments album's killer.
The Olivia Tremor Control. What?
I don't know.
Never heard of that.
Well, anyway, guys, I have to wrap this dog up because I
Yeah.
have another show at 7:30.
Right. I
So,
gotta
does
go look for some obscure-
anybody have anything to plug real quick before we sign off?
Nope.
Ryan's Vinyl Destination.
Okay, Davy Cinema Flicks and Music Picks.
Rand?
I'm still trying to get a video that's not upside down on YouTube. I'm going crazy, so
Just do it. Just do it upside down. That'd be brilliant.
it's just like
Film yourself upside down, hanging from something.
I did a 30-minute one-man rand band the other day on my keyboards and guitar, and I'm completely upside down through the whole video. I'm walking around and stuff.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
magic.
It's so funny.
Post upside down.
All right, guys. Well, good night. Have a good night. I appreciate everyone coming on and talking about Sunflower.
All right.
But before I end the broadcast, stay on real quick. So anyway, good night. Thanks everybody for leaving comments, and it's always fun. It's always fun.
Thanks for having me, Grant.
All right, good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Bye, Davey. Bye, Ryan. Bye, Grant.
Bye.